It's kind of ironic that my story begins on a Sunday morning when I decided not to go to church. Instead, I went for a meditational run. I don't think I'll ever forget that day. I've been struggling to get past my writer's block, determined to become the next James Patterson or B.B. Moore Campbell. So while I was running, I started thinking about my next project. What happened next is a little bit weird to explain, but here goes. While running, I heard or maybe sensed God telling me that I should put fiction writing to the side and write a book to inspire others. But I don't even like most self-help books, was my response. But he said, get up at 5 a.m. and I'll tell you what to write. Now let me just pause and tell you that I don't know if I was most alarmed by the fact that God spoke to me or by the thought of getting up at 5 a.m. Both seemed pretty far-fetched, so I chalked it up to delirium. Didn't think much about it until about a month or so later when it happened. 4:58, 5:02, the times varied, but the result was always the same. I woke up for no apparent reason around 5 a.m. Finally, after several days of frustration, I began to journal. I actually didn't think I was writing a book. I was just asking God the most pressing questions on my heart. Why bother praying if God already has a plan? How do I find my purpose, or better yet, what if I know my purpose but still can't seem to break out of my meantime job to pursue it? How can I handle the pain of losing a loved one or the emptiness of not finding true love? What about the feeling that there's something more? I wrote about the things that most people think about in their quiet moments but may not ever share. And what's more, I wrote the incredible answers that God gave to each question. Later in the day, I'd read over what I wrote, often without real recollection of the contents, and then email it out to a few friends. It wasn't until months later, when my distribution list grew to the triple digits, that I realized I'd written a book. You are not alone. I won't even begin to suggest that this is a book that's going to win a Pulitzer Prize, but what I can promise you is that this book speaks from the heart in a way that's vulnerable and pure. And I can also promise that the insight, that is, the answers in this book, couldn't have come from me without the help of a higher power. It's kind of ironic that my story began with a Sunday morning when I wasn't in church, but I think that's what it's all about. My writing is about knowing that God exists outside the four walls of church, knowing that messengers aren't always in the pulpit and that God can speak through anyone. It's also about helping people realize that we all have the same questions, fears, doubts, and dreams. So please, take a moment to help me, Imani, share my story, and always know that you are not alone.